shit, we're doing it again, once again. What day is today? It's Wednesday, April. It's April, right? April the 9th, 2025. Thank you for joining me. If it's your first time, buckle up, buckle down. Where can you find these videos? On Instagram, follow me there. Subscribe on the YouTube channel so you get the full-length videos. Check out patreon.com/RobSandry if you'd like to physically, financially support the show. Wherever you're tuning in from, boys and gals, ladies and gents, if you're in Canada, down south in the US, further down south, Mexico, South America, you're over there in Europe, Asia, Africa, Antarctica, New Sentinel Islands, over there in India, over there in Bangkok, over there in Eurasia, over there back again, the Swedish people, the Scandinavians, my Vikings, over there in the African, the Sahara Desert. Run around trying to chase a deer or two, but also watching this video. Quit chasing for the food. What's more important, catching food or watching this video? Of course, this video. It's good to be, it's Wednesday. Feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm okay. Thank you for asking. I'm doing great. Doing great. Let me just get a sip of this. We'll get right into it. We'll start off nice and easy. Over the past few days, over the weekend, I'm okay. I just do want to say I'm okay. Everything's fine. Did I end up doing a little bit of surgery on myself? Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. But maybe I did, because I am, after all, like yourselves out there, a doctor, a full-blown doctor. I did. I got a pimple right over here. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Right over somewhere around there on the middle of my eyebrows, if you will. I got a pimple, but it wasn't a regular pimple. I wasn't sure if it was ingrown or it was a little bit bumpy underneath. So I had to do a little bit of digging, if you will, because I couldn't just leave it be. It hurt a little bit too. I squeezed and I felt something underneath, but nothing was coming out. And that's when you're like, oh, I got to take matters into my own hand. And this wasn't the first time I had noticed this little pimple. It had been on my face for a couple of weeks. Just waiting. I'm giving it time. Like let it just ooze on all by itself. Let it just ooze on out independently without me interfering. You know, natural oozing. NO, as they call it on the streets. But it didn't ooze on it by itself, and I had to squeeze a little bit. And then at one point I'm like, this is not working. So I had to go and get a little needle from my sewing kit. That's right, from my extremely masculine sewing kit. Whatever. What are you doing with a sewing kit? None of your business. None of your goddamn business what I'm doing with a sewing kit. I've always had it. Not always, but you know, for a good while. And I'm like, where can I get a needle? I'm like, sewing kit. That's right, my the triple X masculine sewing kit. And I got a little needle. And I punctured a little teeny tiny hole. And I squeezed and it oozed out. And you know when you get a nice amount of pus out of your pimple? Not a big fan of pimples. Not advocating for pimples. I'm not condoning pimples. But sometimes a pimple's gonna pop. Sometimes a pimple popper's gotta pop up a couple of pimples. Sometimes a couple of people with pimples gotta pop their pimples on their... So that's what I did. Popped it, felt good, but it did leave a tiny scar. It's getting better now. Or that might be half the story though. That might just be what the public thinks on the surface level. Or maybe I got involved with Louis Vuitton. I got myself a designer pimple. This podcast could be brought to you by Louis Vuitton Pimples. Get ready for spring, summer, ladies and gents. Bring back the youth. Forget about going out there and doing all sorts of things that are leave you exhausted. Just get a couple of pimples on your face in your late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s. If you're going up to 40, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, you want to feel young, get a couple of pimples on your face. Rejuvenation, feeling great, brought to you by Louis Vuitton Pimples, designer pimples, DPs. So that's what I did. That's what I'm dealing with right now. I've gotten better, of course. I'm feeling okay. But again, I'm just a professional doctor doing a little bit of surgery at home. Do not seek medical attention outside, whatever it is, as small as a pimple or as large as a tumor. Cancers, do not go out there approaching medical professionals for assistance. Simply take care of it by yourself. It's worth the money you save, especially in these times. But that's just doctor to doctors. Just a few doctors chit-chatting, keeping it 100. You know what I'm talking about? So that's how I'm feeling. I'm doing all right, thank you. It is Wednesday. Let's have a little bit of fun. Girl, I wanna meet your grandma, but she old and wrinkly, and she's near her due time, 'cause she's old and wrinkly. Girl, I wanna meet your granny, but she old, she gonna die soon. Girl, I wanna meet your grandma. Say, hey there, grandma, you old and wrinkly, you gon' die sometime. Girl, I wanna meet your granny. Tell her she's old and she fine. She old and wrinkly, wrinkly grandmas. She on her deathbed now. Wanna meet your grandma, but she old. Don't know if we got enough time to meet your grandma. Let's just get right into it. Let's tackle the tough questions that are on everybody's minds these days. Pre-op tranny versus treetop granny. Who would win the fight between the two? Again, that is pre-op tranny versus treetop granny. Honestly, it depends. It all depends. Let's break it down. Let's unpack this together, shall we? Pre-op tranny, if we're talking like, if we're talking, 20-some-year-old, 30-year-old, 40, 50-year-old, I don't know. Let's just say somewhere between 20 to 50 years old, this pre-op tranny. And she or he is out there pre-oping. So what kind of fight condition is she or he in? Is she like contemplating the operation? How far along the process is she or he? Pre-op tranny. Is she taking any medication? Because that's something to think about. And is that cheating? Is that cheating? What kind of medication? But let me lay on you, player. Let me play the player. Let's spit a little game, player to player. If we're talking, what if it's a male transitioning into female? Now, if she's I don't know how it actually works, to be honest with you. Maybe they're depleting his testosterone and giving her lots of estrogen to grow tits and a clit or something. I'm not quite sure. But at the end of the day, if it's still pre-op, if they're on their meds, but they're like, they're starting to grow tits, 30-year-old starting to grow tits, depletion of testosterone, maybe not sleeping well, maybe concentrating a little bit too much on his new tits, not exercising, thinking I'm just gonna let the medication build some sort of, let's get these milky puffs, let them start to lactate on their own. Maybe they're not exercising. So despite the fact that they might start to develop tits, you might want to ask yourself, are those pre-op tits ready to go in the, if it were to go down? Now, treetop granny, also, speaking of age, girl, I wanna meet your grandma, but she old and she gonna fade into black. She fade into black cause she old. Treetop granny, if she were to, what kind of grandma are we talking? Because sometimes you do get younger grandmas. Sometimes the women's have children at a younger age. They end up eventually becoming younger grandma. What kind of, if she's in her like she could be like in her late 40s, early 50s and be a grandma. And if she's in like tip-top shape, if she's a treetop granny, but she's like 50s, 60s even, and in good shape, and she's on top of a treetop granny, versus a pre-op tranny, what kind of, these are all the things that you need to consider before going and see, because this is a difficult question. These are tough questions. You're like, oh, any day of the week, I pick so-and-so. I'll pick her, I'll pick, him, but you don't know. Factors need to be taken accounted for. And how big of a tree is this treetop granny on anyway? These are are we talking about like a willow tree? Is she like swinging on a willow tree? Does she have, or is she on a stable tree? Because willow trees, if it's like a windy day, then I'd be like, put the monies down on the pre-op tranny. But if it's like a stable tree, what if it's like a redwood, a sturdy redwood, an oak tree? Maybe like an evergreen, a nice evergreen, a sturdy evergreens. Evergreens, they are named evergreens because they stayed evergreen in all these seasons, spring, summer, fall, and winter. So they're sturdy. What if the grandma, she's a treetop granny, but on an evergreen, and this right here, this pre-op tranny is halfway through her transition or his transition, kind of feeling, she or he is just like, she's cocooned or he's cocooned, about to hatch, not yet fully a butterfly. So he's dealing with all these, new muscles or lack thereof. What if he used to be a sprinter or a boxer, but again has not hit the sprint court, the sprint yard, or the boxing ring, or the boxing spit, but maybe she or he has not spent enough time spitting into the spit bucket at the local boxing club / spit bucket center, and he or she has just lost a couple of steps. So these are all the things you're gonna have to think about. So don't prejudge a game thinking, oh, I know this game. But again, at the same rate, if this treetop granny's been on the treetop for a couple of decades, maybe she is nearing that time where she's about to, hold on, but also be ready for a gust of wind to come in and just take her away. If she's like 99, 107 and a half, weighing like, 85 pounds, all bone, then I go, go with the pre-op tranny. So these are the tough questions that are being asked on the internet. I would say if I were to put money down on it, and again, depends, are they transitioning from male to female or female to male? Because if it's a male transitioning to female versus treetop granny, despite the fact that the meds might be, they're just starting out, despite the fact that testosterone levels might be a little bit, I'd still go with pre-op tranny, if we're putting money on it, that is. But then again, you don't know the grandma. This might be a grandma who used to do shot put, not just like locally, not just like, not a municipal shot putter, but like, at the county level, at the provincial and the state level. She's state champion shot putter / weightlifter, and now she's gone on to treetop. And so these are all the things that you're gonna have to take into account. But again, generally speaking, if I were to bet, put money on it, I would say put it on the pre-op tranny when it's versus treetop granny. But that's just my take on it. Please do your own due diligence. If you do see them outside, if it's about to go down, hats been put on the ground, people are taking bets. Generally speaking, pre-op tranny. But again, that's just how I feel about it. Make your own decisions. We do not give any financial advice, any sort of betting advice, any sort of advice whatsoever. Maybe down the line during today's episode, we will give a couple of hints and clues, or you might want to call it advice on how to deal with certain situations. But nonetheless, do not take my word for it. Put it to practice yourself. Test it out. Go out there. Get yourself a grandma and a pre-op tranny. Test it out yourself. Take it to the lab. Fly overseas, because again, you're like, I don't know if I'm allowed to go to different jurisdictions, because you heard about Malaysian treetop grannies versus Vietnamese pre-op trannies. These are all the things I don't know. It's just starting out. These are all new things we're dealing with. So please test it out on your own. Do not be fazed by the wrinkles or lack thereof. And may the best person win. That's what I say. Fair fight. Get in there. Figure it out. I'm not here to tell you not to compete. Get in there. Figure it out. This question just came to us together, the general us. Who put the question forward? Us, we did it together. It was a collective effort. Somebody asked, I'm having a difficult time getting my jizz, my cum, in the back of her throat. We don't know who her is. We're assuming, we didn't ask for the details, but this is again one of those tough questions that's really just, because we fucking dig deep here. We don't just touch surface levels. We get to the nitty gritty. If somebody comes looking for advice, they're like, I'm having a difficult time. I don't know how to get my cum in the back of her throat. I'm gonna assume that this is your lover. This is your maybe girlfriend, fiance, wife situation. Maybe your guma, I don't know. Maybe your mistress, doesn't matter. But how do you get the cum in the back of her throat? That's the important question. And thank you for asking it out there. If it was you who asked this question anonymously, leave a comment with your, maybe write your name down as well. Maybe give us your social security number or if you're in Canada, social insurance number. Give us your credit card number. Give us your mother's maiden name. Give us your past 3 pets. Give us your, what was your first car? What's your favorite food? Give us all that info if it was you. If it wasn't you, then this doesn't concern you whatsoever. But nonetheless, you can learn a couple of things from individuals who are willing to put themselves out there and ask tough questions, vulnerable questions that open themselves up and their lives up to us. So thank you for sharing out there. If you're having a difficult time getting to come in the back of her throat, I must assess this like I assess all the situations out there that we assess together, all the problems out there. First and foremost, I'm going to ask, does she have a mouth? Does she have, because a lot of times people will be trying to get things into other things without there being an opening, i.e. mouth. If she's got a mouth, good on you. First step is to make sure that she has a full-blown mouth. That is a hole below her nose, consisted of 2 lips or a pair of lips, bottoms, tops, bottoms, teeth. You're looking for teeth and a tongue. You're looking for tonsils. You're looking for a little teeny tiny little, thing that wiggles at the back of her throat. You're looking, so that if she's got all those, these are the markers, these are the giveaways, these are the tells that indeed you are dealing with a female who has indeed a full-blown mouth. Now, a lot of times people are like, oh, I've done everything. I'm going across the room and I'm just, I'm jerking. We're jerking again. She's jerking her bean and I'm jerking my Johnson. I'm trying to get it across from the room to the back of her throat. And there's your first misstep. There's your one of the mistakes that amateurs tend to make, is sometimes giving themselves too much distance. Too much distance is often, yes, the end result looks awesome because it's just as fulfilling as getting a 3-pointer in. It's just as fulfilling as throwing a 50-yard touchdown. It's just as fulfilling as hitting a golf ball really far. I don't know golf measurements, but really far. But that's really far is jargon, of course, in golf language and lingo. So really far, it's just as satisfying as those. It's just as satisfying as grabbing your baby in the middle of the ocean and just chucking it really far. Just as satisfying as going into a little pond or a riverbank and finding leeches on your testicles, ripping those leeches off your testicles, chucking it far away, having it land on a stranger or a friend who's accompanied you in the riverbank, and it's just as satisfying. So what I'm trying to tell you, despite the fact that it is satisfying, it doesn't mean that that needs to be your first step. Give yourself a little bit of a better chance by closing in the gap. Get closer together. A lot of people, they're like, oh, I want to get it in the back of her throat, and they're all the way across on the other side of the living room or their compound or their backyard or their barn or their penthouse condo that's really large, thousands of square footage. So give yourself plenty of space. Now that doesn't mean down the line you won't be able to get it in the back of her throat, having mastered getting it in the back of her throat at a closer distance. But go in increments. Do not just be like, all right, first time we're gonna try this. You take 50 steps back, I'll take 50 steps back. And you're gonna spend a whole afternoon. Next thing you know, it's evening. Next thing you know, you're dehydrated, you've not had any food, and it's landed all over the place, in her eye, in her hair, in her ear, anywhere except the back of her throat. So close the distance. That's one of my main recommendations. If you are new to the game, close the gap, mind the gap. They say mind the gap. That's where the phrase comes from. A lot of times you'd be stepping on the subway platform, it says mind the gap. Actually goes back to our ancestors who were trying to get it in the back of her throat, hence mind the gap. So please bring it a little bit closer. How close should you go? To be honest with you, I'd start really close and then I'd work my way out. I'd start with cock and mouth, all the way in the mouth. Ejac when it's fully embedded. You're like, just the tip? No. Again, amateur mistake. If you go with just the tip in the mouth, then it might get in the mouth, but it's not gonna. The question was, if I'm not mistaken, if we're paying attention to details, and they say devil's in the deets, put your cock all the way at the back. The tip of your cock should be dangling somewhere around the neck region, somewhere around the Adam's apple, but hopefully she doesn't have an Adam's apple, because in that case, then you might be gay then. That's fine too. If your friend, if your lover happens to, you're like, how do I, maybe this was a whole misdirection. Maybe you wrote in, how do I get it in the back of her throat, i.e. you wanted to really get it in the back of his throat. It doesn't matter. It does work with both of the sex genders. Close the gap, not just the tip, and make sure they really say like really, really open wide, like you're doing some, like you're about to just taking a huge lick of an old ice cream cone, just with three scoop ice cream, just open wide. Or you're going to the dentist and they say open wide, and they get their medical equipment and they open your mouth really wide. Sometimes the medical equipment, of course, is not satisfactory, so they ask for assistants to come in and they're stepping on your lower jaw while the dentist is ripping your face off, just pulling and stretch. Knee deep, they are in your throat. That kind of opening, we're asking for you to really open wide, put it all the way in her mouth, and make sure the tip of the cock is hitting the back of her throat. That is the ultimate way of guaranteeing that the jizz will end up in the back of the throat, not somewhere around the tongue region, on her teeth or his teeth, on whatever you're doing out there. We support it all. We support it. I just want to make sure you're doing it correctly. Now, down the line, once you get comfortable, once you have achieved hitting it at the back of the throat at a closer distance, you can now start to separate a little bit, move further away. A lot of people are like, should I stick to traditional straight from nuts to mouth? You could do that. That's trad. It's always worked. There's proof in the pudding. You can find that it's worked tremendously for hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions of years. Down the line, if you do get more comfortable, you can get a little bit more creative by extracting the jizz, maybe not even having it go straight from penis or cock to mouth. You can actually have it in your hand and just kind of like chuck it like that. That's the overhand cum chuck, the OCC, overhand cum chuck, just OCC. Remember that? OCC, overhand cum chuck. There's the underhand, you just lob it in some underhand cum chuck, the UCC. These, again, do not get intimidated by all the acronyms and the jargon. Most of the basics work fine. Down the line, if you feel like you're fully comfortable, you can get a slingshot, jack off, and put your cum, your jizz, into the said slingshot. Whip it in her, again, open mouth, whip it, just let it go. Hopefully your aim, you got to work on that. These are, again, some of the methods which have worked for others. You yourself might come up with a few alternative ideas. If you do, leave a comment. Some people like to go on rooftops, really up top, 14 floors, 27 floors up high, have their partner, their lover, standing on the ground level, and then they're opening their mouth like a little baby bird, and the male will jizz. But then you're dealing with wind. Again, these are, I'm not telling you don't do it. I'm telling you if you're just doing it for like a couple of weeks, don't be going out there and setting yourself up for all sorts of disappointments, broken hearts, families falling apart, businesses going down under, communities being torn apart simply because you went ahead and you try to do, it's baby steps, one step at a time. You could definitely achieve those if you do see others practicing in that sense. Don't look at them and be like, oh, overnight, overnight, just I must have done it in an instant, just got up on the 22nd floor and jizzed in her mouth, and then hit right in the back of her throat. How did he do it? He must have just winged it or so. Practice. I cannot emphasize the amount of practice and dedication this all takes. But again, I don't want you to be intimidated. Please start slow, build yourself up one step at a time, and that's how you achieve getting cum or jizz in the back of her throat. You're welcome, and thank you for the lovely questions out there. Another question, because today is just filled with questions and answers. Another question came in, and someone out there, one of us, asked or proclaimed, "My bitch cries all the time when she's chopping onions. What do I do with this? Can you help?" And of course we can help. You're not alone out there. I just want you to know you're not alone out there. So what? Your bitch is crying over onions. First and foremost, let us take a step back. Look at the grand scheme of things, the picture at a larger scale, at a larger scope, it's beautiful that she's chopping onions. It's beautiful that means she's cooking. That's a beautiful thing. A lot of people don't even cook, male or female. Doesn't matter. So at least she is into cooking. Homemade food is delicioso. So let's deal with this one step at a time. She is crying over chopped onions. She's getting tears in the onions, and the onions are already juicy enough. You don't want it to taste like her tears, and you don't like the whole commotion and her being all melodramatic over onions. What could you do? Get her to chop more onions. Get her to chop more onions, or him. This works for guys too. This, I know the question came in that my bitch cries over onions. This works for if your lover happens to be male and he is chopping onions, always fucking bawling his eyes out. Get him as well. Get him to chop more onions. The more he or she cries over chopped onions, it's basically like getting a little bit of the old venom inside the system and eventually building up resistance to it. So if they're doing this 2-3 times a day, bloodshot eyes over, they're losing liters of bodily fluid. If they do this for 7 or 8 months of just chopping onions on a daily basis, 2-3 times a day, 7 to 8 months, a year full of chopping onions 2-3 times a day, consistently, breakfast, lunch, din, chopping onion. By next year, by next spring, by next fall, whenever you do happen to start, you should be seeing results where they might cry, but not as much. Or they might, if they're normal, if I'm being 100% with you, if they're a normal person, they're not gonna cry at all. They're not gonna cry at all. Should they continue to cry after that year where they've consistently chopped onions and still cried every single time, then you may need to up the ante a little bit. Make sure that they're now chopping onions 5-6 times a day. Really, if they can just quit their job and start just chopping onions, give them onions to eat while they're walking outside, running errands, going to work again. Get them to quit, because what is more important? Them attending to their business, having a little bit of money in the bank because of dual income situations, and also a little bit of me time to go hang out with the gal pals, and all that is nice. It's all nice and dandy, but at the end of the day, your goal is to get her to stop crying over chopped onions. I say just lock her in a room and tell her to deal with it. The onions are her friend. It's full of vitamin C and probably really good for you in terms of, it's probably going to help you resist colds as well. I've heard that it helps you. It's kind of like it's maybe got a little bit of antibiotics, natural antibiotics. I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you, despite the fact that I'm a full-blown doctor. Nonetheless, make sure she's doing it a lot, because that's how you build resistance. If she's doing it not as often, or he's not doing it as often, that's when you get random people coming over your house for a din party or a little brunch. Next thing you know, you're like, I'll make a salad, I'll make a little dish for you, let me just chop these onions, crying, bawling their eyes out, making a fool of themselves and you in front of your newly acquainted friends and or relatives, and they're scaring people off and nobody likes it. So quit crying. Ultimately, I would say get involved with them. If you could quit your job too and start chopping onions 2-3 times a day with her or him, and now you're both crying, ask yourself, if you're both crying, is anyone really crying? That's one of the first things that comes to anybody's mind, of course. Cry harder than she is, because they like to make, if he is crying, cry harder than him. Make it so, just become that mirror, reflect back. How does it feel to be chopping onions and crying? So make sure they get the message. Again, this is not a one-size-fits-glove that fits all. Everybody's different. I would say, again, do it up to a year. If it's not working, do another year. If it continues to be more waterworks and splash waterfalls and all that jazz, but maybe it's time you go your separate ways. Maybe it's time that you could honestly say that we gave it all and it's just not working. Just separate from each other. There you go. You're welcome. Helping relationships one step at a time. Again, that's bitches that cry over onions. It could be male or female, doesn't matter. Nonetheless, leave a comment if it was you. If it's helped you, again, you're welcome. It's free. It's basically free, so you're welcome out there. This one came from someone potentially in the down under, mate. In Australia, somebody might have asked at one point, I've got a kangaroo pet, mate. I've got a kangaroo pet, mate. And it seems like in other countries around the world, the sought after pet for drug trafficking is the mule, hence the drug mule. But here in Australia, we have a lot of kangaroos and they have pockets, built-in pockets. I've been thinking about using my kangaroo as a drug trafficking mule, or drug trafficking kangaroo rather, or kangaroo mule, drug trafficking kangaroo mule, or kangaroo mule. So what are my thoughts about it? I'm glad you asked. Thank you for reaching out. If you happen to have a kangaroo pet and you've been thinking about stuffing its little pocket with drugs and sending it across somewhere to do the deliveries, honestly, it makes perfect sense. To be honest with you, if I had access to kangaroos, that's probably one of the things that I would do. I'm not, there's no shame in your game. I say if you've got kangaroos, stuff their little pockets with as much drugs as possible. Hopefully they're good drugs. I hope that you're not going out there and chopping things up and mixing things that shouldn't be, because it's a rough time out there for, I don't particularly use anything myself other than weed and cigarettes and coffee, but for those experimenting with other drugs, I do want you to be having a good, safe, good time, safe time. Fun times, but safe. So hopefully whatever you're using is pure. And yes, the pocket is there. I can see no reason why you shouldn't be putting stuff in the kangaroo's pocket, guiding them to go and deliver these said drugs. Now the training, of course, I myself am not familiar with kangaroo training, but being a full-blown doctor, I would say that talk to them. They seem to be larger rabbits with pockets, and we know how rabbits can be trained. If training doesn't work, bribe them with whatever kangaroos are into, whether it be a ticket to a nice boxing event, whether it be maybe get them a pogo stick, maybe a trampoline, maybe reward them with a tramp, because they do like to jump, but put them in front of a trampoline and be like, bitch, if you like jumping and you like to jump high, there's only a limit to that, but get on a trampoline, and a kangaroo on a trampoline is like a kangaroo on steroids. In fact, I would probably place the delivery spots, trampolines, and have the kangaroos jump from trampoline to trampoline delivering drugs, and they won't stay long because they're just on trampolines hopping from one location to the next, just airdropping drugs into people's backyards, into people's cars as they're coming and going. If they've got their the drop tops, if they've got like a sunroof or a moonroof, kangaroos make great drug dealers. Now, could they be delivering other items as well, because they do have that pocket? I would say start with the drugs, then maybe, of course, you could always get them to deliver whatever you like, whether it be parcels, packages, food, whatever you like. You could definitely train your kangaroo to do the deliveries. It is a matter of preference. Do not overburden them with putting all the drugs in their pouch all at once. I would say, from eyeballing it from a distance, I would say you could probably fit about a kilo, about a brick, maybe 2 kilos. I'm not quite sure. I've never been inside of a kangaroo pocket or pouch, despite it being one of my top 5 all-time dreams to achieve in a lifetime. I would like to at one point climb in a kangaroo pouch, maybe spend an afternoon or an evening if they are willing to just let me stay in there. But that's just one of my top 5 dreams. What are your dreams? If it happens to be that you too would like to sleep in a kangaroo pouch, please make sure you do not do it before me. If you do, I hope it's a terrible experience for you, because again, it's one of those things that I really want to experience for myself, and how dare you have it before me. So there you go. Do put the drugs in the kangaroo pouch. I see no shame in your game. Enjoy your kangaroo. I'm telling you right now, again, if I had access, I'd be probably doing the same thing. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm sure everything's gonna work out just fine. Ladies and gents. somebody out there might have been asking questions like, oh, how do I've got children and they might be getting bullied. How do I help them? How do I deal with the situation? If you've got children and they're getting bullied at school or outside or whatever, have a talk with them, have a sit them down, have a little chit chat with them. Best thing anybody can do to help a child going through bullying, and just, I don't have children of my own, but at one point I was one, and I could tell you the best thing to do is just reassure them that you're there for them, and tell them that when you're not there for them, the best thing they could do is to join a gang. That's right, tell your children to join a gang. That way, if it's a numbers game, it's a safety in numbers. If your child is coming home day after day and you're like, oh, what if I teach them a martial arts? What if I put them in, what if I teach them origami? What if, you know what I mean? A little bit of self-defense with a little bit of just artisanal craftsmanship. Could I persuade him or her to teach that same craft to others and make friends? Yes, of course, that could work. Or you might want to not gamble with your child's life and tell them to join a gang, a small gang, not anything major, just a small gang, 5 to 10 people, roughly around the same age. Tell them join a gang. If anything should happen, gang up on the youths that are, instigating, or what, your kid might be the instigator. I don't even know what the situation is, but I'm telling you right now, martial arts, use of, just backflips and Tai Chi goes a long way, but it is a numbers game. Tell them to pick a game and play with the fellow gang members, whether it's dice. Teach them a couple of games that gang members like to play, like dice, like gambling. Teach them gambling. If they could play cards, the earlier they learn to play, the learning experience when you're younger comes at a faster and more improved rate rather than when you learn something later on in life. So please teach your children how to count cards, how to place a bet, how to win money, but also lose money. Lose money is a big lesson you could be teaching these kids out there. But the most important one is, of course, tell them to join a gang. Are they into a particular color? Is if learn to look for tells by spending time with your children, asking them, what is your favorite color? Whatever color is their favorite color, most likely there's some gang that sports that same color. So get them a bandana in the same color as their favorite gang, and just have them go out into the neighborhood and hopefully tell them to spend time at a local, near a gas station. Tell them to spend a little bit of time at near a convenience store. Just by a convenience store. Now it's hard to, when you're out, like if they can access the gangs in their schools, that's perfect. If they can't, they might have to resort to gang members outside of schools, which then if if they're in the same school, then the age difference would probably be around the same. But if it's just like outside hoodlums from different areas, then you don't know the age limit. You don't want it to be too far of a gap. So tell them to go by height. If they're having a difficult time assessing what age other gang members, youth gang members, and tell them go by height. That usually tends to work out just fine. But again, late at night, tell them to go out and spend time in, again, near a gas station, and then you open parking lot, really, open parking spaces, parks in general, and there you go. If they join a gang, I'm hoping that this will alleviate some of the bullying. Of course, initially when they do join a gang culture would probably ensue a little bit of, in-house bullying as well, but that's just part of camaraderie and getting to know one another. You're welcome. Again, this is not a one-size-fits-all glove. They might have to join a gang and have their heart broken because that's not the right gang for them, and they're gonna have to go out there and search for a new gang. So tell them to hang in there, but there is plenty of gangs. So tell them nothing to worry about. One gang doesn't work out for you, or you go in thinking, oh, this is my favorite color. Next, they're young. They might come out and be like, you know what, I fucking hate purple. I hate blue. I rocks with the reds now. And there you go. So it's like, just be patient. Do not force them to, lock in and commit to one gang. If they could actually get multiple gang affiliations, then tell them to play the field, really. If multiple gangs are taking a liking to your youth, then that's multiple backups. And they do gotta, it's all tricky, but again, one step at a time. There's a solution to every problem. Do not box yourself in and be like, oh, I don't know if I can teach them yoga or whatever. So there you go. You're welcome out there. Helping families come closer together, keeping communities safe and connected, one step at a time. Girl, I wanna meet your grandma, but she's so old and wrinkly. What else is going on in and around the world, man? I will say this. There's a woman out there. Chanel Tapper or Chanel Taper. Chanel. Chanel or Chanel Tapper. 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 Doesn't matter. She is, congratulations, Chanel, wherever you are out there in your early 30s, rocking it out there. Congratulations. She is the owner. She's the winner of the world's record for the Guinness World Book of Records, Guinness World Records. She is the holder of the world's longest tongue. That's right. Weighing in, or rather stretching out as long as 3.8 inches, if I'm not mistaken. Chanel is the owner of a 3.8 inch tongue. It's quite large. I might even be getting the measurement wrong, but it's like maybe 4 inches long. Maybe, which is quite large, which really puts into perspective how large a 6-inch penis is. Because if you think 3.8 inches is long, then the 6-inch penis is massive then, according to the world's longest measurements of stuff. But that's aside the point. She just won the record. She's fucking killing it out there. It's a spectacle. I like to see more of it. But I do want to take a moment and just right here, just nip it in the bud before it gets way too out of hand. Got your back, sister. Got your back. I know what you guys are thinking out there. I know what some of you might be thinking out there. Some people might be looking at the pictures and seeing the world's longest tongue on beautiful lady and thinking thoughts like, oh, I wonder how that tongue would feel wrapped around a penis, maybe a cock, maybe my cock. You might be saying that to yourself. And I just want to say right now, I just want to nip it in the butt. She's not here to give you sloppy toppy. All right, she is not. Is not what this is all about. This is not about you getting your little kinks taken care of. You getting your little, that makes you feel all sorts of thoughts and think all things of things, doesn't it? The world's longest. I wonder what it feels like. Could she wrap her tongue around a cock, you're asking? Could she? Well, she probably could, but this is not what this is about. This is not what this is about. All right, she's not here for the sloppy toppies. She is not here for sloppy toppies. Let me just tell you that. Sure, she might be able to eat a large ice cream cone. She might be able to even pick up the ice cream cone, the hands-free ice cream cone eating, just using her tongue. All right, she might be able to get a nice sugar cone and pick it up with her tongue, using it and just wrap it around like a little frog or a lizard or a snake. It doesn't matter. A reptilian. She might be able to use her tongue like a reptile, is what you're thinking. And you like a little bit of reptilian tongue action, wouldn't you? Hey, let me just nip it in the bud one more time. Let me just nip it one more time, because some people might be thinking, oh, I wonder what the sloppy toppy, I wonder what that feels like with the world's longest tongue. Simultaneously, there are ladies out there who are also into the ladies, talking about the femme on femme, talking about lesbos. There's some lesbians out there who very similarly to the male counterparts are thinking, I wonder what it feels like to get eaten out by the world's longest tongue. And I'm here to tell you that Chanel Tapper, Chanel, she is not here for the sloppy toppy, and she is not here to go down on you, and you are not going to get your insides tickled by Chanel just because she's been gifted with the world's longest tongue. And yes, it's intriguing to think about how far down your puss she could go. She could go deep. She could go really deep, deeper than any man's ever been with his tongue, unless there's a man out there with an even larger tongue, which, whatever, I'm not aware of them at this point. Nonetheless, you're thinking, oh, she must be like heaven. If you're sitting in your jail cell, lady, you're getting your hair braided because you did some crimes and you're a female criminal and you're wearing an orange jumpsuit and there's a couple of bitches braiding your hair and you're seeing the articles and the headlines and you're like, man, you see her face and you see her beautiful tongue and you're like, I wonder what that tongue feels. Quit thinking about it because you're in jail anyway. You're never going to get that tongue inside you. Locked up lesbian, locked up lesbo, double L's, LLs, locked up lesbians. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. And again, the fellas out there, if you're thinking, whatever you're thinking, this is for world records. It's not just for your pleasure only, okay? Many things to do, business to be taken care of, records to be, could she get it to grow longer? Because that'd be interesting too, because 3.8 inches is quite long. If she could do some exercise and get it to be even longer, what else could she do? You might be thinking, could she wrap her tongue around your nuts, is what you're thinking. And I'm here to tell you that she might be able to do that, but it's not about that, okay? And quit thinking those thoughts. And despite the fact that tongues would feel nice on the nuts, some people might say that quit thinking about it. It is not for that. It is for world records, picking up utensils that you normally wouldn't be able to pick up with your tongue. And it's quite handy. It could be used for many things, like, for instance, you're in a ship. The ship is about to go down. Oh no, you hit a rock. Oh no, and everybody's locked in their rooms, and the keys are on the outside of the rooms. That's crazy. But guess what? Nobody's gonna be able to reach under the door. There's a little gap under the door, and the key's right outside of it. Nobody's gonna be able to reach under the door and get that key except Chanel Tapper. If she were to just lower herself to the ground and kind of like, stick her tongue out underneath the door, she might be able to scoop that key up and hand herself the key and open the door and then rescue maybe 5 more people. But that's probably as many as she'd be able to rescue, because what can you ask from a person to rescue all the people on the ship? You're saying it's too much. 5 is good enough. The rest, come on, hustle. Knees high, get it together. But nonetheless, I'm just here to tell you we've nipped it in the bud. All right, she might be able to, sure, if she were to not use her hands, she might be able to grab a pencil and still write a letter. Old-fashioned writing letters with pencils and pens. Old-fashioned writing. OFWs. But that's she might be able to do that. Yeah, she might be able to do that. So these are all the things that she could be doing. She could be driving with her tongue. She don't need hands. She could be driving with her tongue. These are the things that she could be doing. You're out there thinking, what kind of head does she give? I wonder. She probably gives the best sloppy toppy. She will, whenever she decides to, with whoever she decides to, she probably might do that. And that is great for them, but it is not for you to think about, all right? Despite seeing that picture and thinking all sorts of thoughts, like how far can her tongue go inside my puss? Could she, reach my pelvis? Could she come out of my mouth if she were to just really push her face in my vag? Would she be able to tickle my intestines? She might. She gonna? Probably not. Okay, so shout out to Chanel Tapper. We nipped it in the bud together. Congratulations, and the Guinness World Record is proud of you, and we are proud of you here at Glad You Made It. What else is going on in and around the world? I believe Girl Scout cookies have just been sued. So everyone's favorite Girl Scout cookies have been sued because apparently there's heavy metals inside the cookies that kill people. So There you go. Girl Scout cookies kill people. On the surface, looks like innocent children, girls who are in Scouts, and they're selling cookies. And like, oh, peppermint cookies, chocolate chip cookies, you know, Thin Mints, whatever. Oh, lovely. Next thing you know, 6 months down, you're having a heart attack. You're dropping dead. You're dead. Who killed you? These Girl Scout cookies. Moral of the story: no one is to be trusted, especially if they're selling cookies. Girl Scout cookies are basically the silent killers. They say Girl Scout cookies kill more people than smoking, than bungee jumping, and skydiving in the nude combined. And that's a lot of killing. So they're being sued. Put these girls behind bars. That's what I say. If they are aware that they're selling poison to Americans and other people around the world too, tell them to do. Justice is coming after you. The heavy-handed law is going to be laying down some heavy-handed law on you. All right. So there you go. Until it gets figured out, until, you know, I don't know when they're going to take the poisonous heavy metals like lead and mercury out of the cookies. At the same rate, if you've got beef with somebody, hire these little assassins to deliver them and sell them cookies, or rather buy the cookies from the girls, because somebody might be like, okay, I've got beef with whoever, send them over to their house, hoping that they would buy the cookies, ingest the cookies, enough of them to get lead poisoning, and then drop dead. Knock, knock, who's there? Girl Scout cookies. Would you like some cookies? Slam the door shut. No thanks. So go ahead and actually buy the cookies yourself, hand deliver, or just drop it off to whoever you're eyeing out there to maybe, you know, whatever. I'm not telling you to do things. I'm just saying if you wanted to, you could. And there'd be no evidence pointing to you or anybody close to you saying that nobody's going to be able to connect those dots. I'm just telling you right now, these little assassins are killing people, and they're doing it with delicious cookies. Could we alter the cookies to have no lead inside them, or mercury for that? I didn't even know you could. How does that even happen? I have no idea. Apparently it exceeds the recommended level. I didn't know you could even have lead or mercury or other heavy metals inside your heavy metals, heavy gases, heavy liquids. I didn't know there was a recommended level of heavy metals that you can't go beyond. I just thought we made cookies without any metals, but apparently there's a level to it, and apparently these Girl Scout cookies are exceeding it. So yeah, there you go. If you got beef with anybody, I recommend indirect attacking without being, questioned as to where were you last Thursday? Nowhere. Just enjoying some cookies myself. Eat a little bit of it yourself. Give a lot to your foes. That's the takeaway from this story. What else is going on in and around the world? I believe in Connecticut, there is a swingers club. I don't even know how it breaks my heart, ladies and gentlemen. It breaks my heart because this one's a sad story. This one's a story that touches all of us inside, that really, it's a low blow, but we'll get through it together. It's in Connecticut. There's a swingers club that's recently been shut down, if I'm not mistaken. And it's a travesty. It did happen to be right next door to a church. I don't know if that's the reason why it was shut down or not, but I don't particularly care about the location of the swingers club. I care more so about the fact that the swingers club was shut down. What is a swingers club? I've not been to one, but I really like the idea of it. Would I like to own one? Maybe. Who knows down the line. One of my top favorite things to own is probably a swingers club. It's up there. It's top 20 things to own, a swingers club. Why not? And this one's been shut down. I don't know the legalities of it all, to be honest with you, and I'm not interested. I'm just here to ask questions. Can we not have people get into a club and do sexual activities either with their partners or with multiple partners if they are old enough and they're consenting adults? Can we not have an establishment for swingers who'd like to get in there and fucking swing? I believe it's swapping couples. I believe that's what swinging I think is, when you specific, but I would assume it's also just a sex club. I guess you could just go and have sex in the club. It's a private members only club if I'm not mistaken. You could pay for a membership and go there and have fun, and all sorts of people go in there, men and women who do good work every day, delivering mail, driving cars, being paramedics, fighting cancer. They're doctors. Some of them might be doctors. Some of them probably are doctors because they don't have time to go out there and make really meaningful relationships. They've been studying and for a really long time, and then when everybody else finishes, they're like, give me like 10 more of that. Give me 10, 20 more years of that. And so they're studying, and then when they finish, they're put in one of the most depressing settings on planet Earth, hospitals. So to cut them a little bit of slack, if after like 30 years of just being surrounded by books and pastel colors and shitty lighting, they want to blow off a little steam and get into a swingers club and swing on a swing with their legs wide open and swing inwards, licky licky, swing back, swing inwards, licky licky, take a break, swing back, swing on a set. So that's what I'm here to tell you. There's hardworking men and women and politicians too. They mentioned there was a politician. Somebody asked, a reporter did ask politicians as in plural, and they said no, singular, one. It's a local politician. And I say, if we can't have all people from all walks of life getting into a building, a brick and mortar, a mom and pop swingers club, and just have a little bit of consensual sex, then is life even worth living? Ladies, and now, was it too close to the church? Because you could see there might be a little bit of a juxtaposition, might be a little bit of a, oxymoron or a little bit of whatever. It's just a little bit of a contradictory concepts right next door to each other, because Heavenly Father and who's your daddy right there, it's just right next door. It could be a little bit, but also would be nice to go repent really hard, but also fucking do things that you want to be able to repent really hard next week. So it is good. I would say actually makes sense to probably have, the confessions rate at that church should be, sky high. I mean, especially if they're and you know what? I've never been to church. I walked in a couple, obviously, but I'm not, but it'd be nice to know that there's a swingers club right next door, because I bet there's a ton of people who go to church and finish that, and they're like, you know what? Swingers club, or vice versa. Swingers club attendees might want to be like, you know what? This gangbang was swell, but you know what? I just want to kind of go and confess my sins, or just listen to a choir or whatever that they do. So sure, the location might not be everybody's favorite, but I'm just saying, open it back up, please, in Connecticut and other locations all around the world, really. It's a fun setting. It's a fun. I'm not even saying go and participate, but it'd be nice to at least view what is. And if we can't get politicians and other people on camera in swingers clubs, then where will we get them in compromised positions? Where will we get our politicians and people of high power, elite people? How would everyday folk? Who cares? But what if you have something on somebody? Where would you, what if a politician is low-key running on the grounds that they're full-blown straight? What if they're I'm full-blown straight? What if it could be the president? Not, it could, who knows, an ex-president. They never said whom it was, but one might wonder. And then one might hear other rumors and a little birdies, chit-chat and chirping. Oh, tweet, a little tweety, just oh, what is that? They might be, what? If it wasn't for these places, we just have our imagination to rely on. And it might be, what if Barack Obama hypothetically, right, is seemingly a straight president running on straight heterosexual notions of presidency, and then all of a sudden you might hear rumors like Michelle's a man, and that is something to think about. Again, images that you cannot get out of your head because you've seen a video with her dancing on Ellen and there's something swinging back and forth, and nonetheless you draw your own conclusions. What was in that pocket? Some might say it's her keys, some might say it was her phone, others might say that it's her penis. But nonetheless, rumors, murmurs, and then down the line, the presidency is over, somebody's done their term, fantastic. Was he a CIA operative turned president? Who knows? Questions to be asked. Does it even matter? I don't know. Nonetheless, you hear more rumors. Marriage might be, not so great. Things might be, and marriages sometimes things are not so great, and that happens to a lot of people. It's not anything to be ashamed of, but nonetheless. And the next thing you know, you got a chef who drowns in a, like a little bit of like a little puddle, and that leads you to think, was this secret lover boy? How would be? And the next thing you know, there's a swingers club. Now I'm not saying this swingers club, but it might be a swingers club that one attends and happens to engage in homosexual activities, which are completely fine. But once the public thinks you're one thing and then you do something on the DL, and that's completely your business as well, but it's just something to chat about, isn't it? To wonder if the president did engage in the sexuals with gay lovers. And I'm not saying this one is connected to that one. I'm just curious to know who the politician was. Was it like a, local level, not a big deal? Still interesting to know who goes where, and but everybody also deserves their privacy, which is also something we all happen to adore and love, but also you give up your privacy for safety. So nonetheless, all that to say is swingers clubs facilitate a safe space where individuals, it could be your everyday folk who are, again, doing everyday folk activities, or a high-level politician getting in there, mixing with the average folk, because he too, at the end of the day, is human. He just might want to get sloppy toppy from a fellow man, and we'll never know that now, and we're definitely not going to know this time either, because the place in Connecticut is really good with apparently holding their lips closed when they run a private members only club, and that's good and admirable. But also it wouldn't hurt to see some photos of gay stuff concerning politicians, because that's when it's not in the open, and then it comes out into the open. Who knows? But everybody is. We hope that everybody's doing well, and should the marriage break off, and then maybe they break up the marriage, Michelle goes into a hiatus. She just goes off. It's not seen for a little while. Then Barack Obama is just out there doing things. 6 months, a year goes by, 2 years goes by. Mystery man appears and holding hands with Barack, and everybody's asking, who's that mystery man? Where is Michelle? Michelle's nowhere to be seen, but if you look closer in the pictures, it could be that the mystery man is indeed Michelle, and her name is Michael. Dun dun dun. Keep swingers clubs open, because you never know what might happen, or it might be just that none of this is actually factual. But one likes to hope, and a man can dream. So a man certainly can dream. Nonetheless, shout out to everybody. Shout out to Big Mike. Shout out to Michelle. Shout out to everybody holding it down. We're all in it together. Just saying, keep the swingers clubs open is all I'm saying. It's hard to find reliable swingers clubs. A lot of times people are obviously getting eye boogers on the side of their eyes, and it's hard for them to take that little bit of eye booger and be like, oh man, this is really nice, this is really cool, this is really, it could be a lot more fun if there was more of it, but there's never more of it, is there? Bummer. total letdown, another wasted afternoon or weekend gone awry because we don't have enough eye boogers. Until now, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. We went out there and did the unthinkable. We extracted all the eye boogers in the world and we made eye booger serums. For those of you wondering, I wish there was a better way to get more eye boogers on the side, on the corner of my eyes in the mornings or sometimes late into the evenings as the long days have gone by and I've done a lot of work. I wish I had more access to eye boogers. If there was only a way. You're crying, you're desperate, you are trying at everything, but there's no, you talk to people, you're like, hey, come here, low key. You happen to know a guy that knows a guy that might give me some eye boogers, and they might just front on you just because they want to put on a little display of, yes, I got the connect, and they'll be like, yeah, I got a guy, I'll connect you, you can get all the eye boogers. Next thing you know, you're getting eye boogers, but they're not real eye boogers. And again, total waste of an afternoon, another letdown, another broken heart, empty promises, and devastation through and through. How many times have you had to ask for eye boogers and get disappointed? Until now. That's why we went ahead around the world, collected all the eye boogers that people just flick wherever they want and wipe and just throw it away. We collected all of them and we have surplus eye boogers in our factories right now. We bottle them up and we sell them. We sell them so you can have fun. So you wake up in the morning next time and your sweetheart is right next to you, typically she'd turn around and you both yawn and stretch and whatever, a little bit of eye booger there, not a big deal. Wake up next time with a whole lot of eye boogers, sort of just kind of like cum, but eye boogers, which is better than cum if you're not looking for cum at the time. Eye boogers for days, entire eye sockets covered with eye boogers, just drenched in eye boogers, and you'll turn to her and she'll scream. She's terrified. No, she's not. She is screaming. These are screams of joy because now she can look at her man and say, that's a go-getter right there. That's my man right there with the ample amounts of eye booger. I know I can rely on him. He can do anything. He's my man. He's got plenty of eye boogers. Eye boogers for days. Ladies, trying to impress a fella, wake up next to him with eyes drenched, I'm talking dripping with eye boogers, just smeared all over your tits too because of this dripping down your face. Next thing you know, sure, he might see a hottie jogging down the street one day and just wonder to himself, oh, those tits. But guess what? That's as far as the thought is gonna go because he knows when he comes back home, ample amounts of eye boogers are waiting for him in the evening and in the morning. Sure, there might be a time or two where he's just stretching at the park because he's about to go for his jog and there might be a whole group of MILFs running right in front of him doing their morning exercises or whatever it is that they do and gossiping, running and gossiping like women's do's. And guess what? All of them fucking at least 8, 9, and 10, 8, 9s, and 10s. That's all there is to see. And they're like, oh, would you like to join us right now, sir? And he laughs it off and says, and then you go on ahead, ladies. I got plenty at home. And guess what? He does have plenty at home. And when he gets home, eye boogers all around. Okay? Not a little bit, talking plenty of eye boogers. So please, think about it. If you buy one bottle, we will send you 25 extra bottles. That's right. If you buy one, we will send you 25 extra bottles. That's a lifetime full of friggin' eye boogers. Eye boogers for your entire family. Do it today. Do not be one of those people who just lets opportunities slide on by. When you see a good thing, take action. Until next time, I'm Rob Sadri.